What is going on, everyone? My name is No Pun Intended, and welcome to coverage of my Week 4 battle for the PCL. If you guys do enjoy this video, then please leave a like or a comment on it, because that would be nice, and I would appreciate it. Anyway, in Week 4, we are taking on DyeItTight, coach of the New Britain Rockruffs, a coach who's been a bit hard on his luck this season. He's been hacked in quite a few of his games, and so he probably deserves a better record than 1-2, and by that logic, he probably deserves a better record than me, because I got really lucky in my first game, but definitely not a coach to be taken lightly, especially considering the team that he has. So, the Rockruffs. Their squad is definitely the hardest team to prepare for on paper. They've got the wall-breaking duo of Mega Metagross plus Kieran Black, as well as underrated breakers like Rockruffs and Teambuilder. They've got Mons with decent defensive potential and recovery in Zapdos and Sylveon, and then Nidoqueen is also very annoying for my team to deal with as well. So for the squad that I wanted to build, I definitely felt as though I needed to tap into the breaking side of my team. And the best breaker that I have is my Mega Medicham, who's running mostly physically offensive. I guess that's not too surprising of a set to run, because that's what Medicham does best. I'm running Fake Out for a nice little bit of priority against stuff like the Mega Metagross and Rock Dust, just to be so I can scout for any potential Scarfs if he wants to stay in as well. And Thunder Punches for the Rockruffs, who causes me a ton of problems because it is Giga Drain to hit my Seismitoad, who's my main switch into water type attacks, and otherwise it's just a very strong Mon with its Water Bubble ability. But of course, it's not enough just to have offensive firepower on your side. You need Mons that can take your opponent's offensive firepower, and for me, Aegislash has been the defensive rock that I have leaned on for most of the season. The moveset is definitely very interesting, specifically because I brought Magnet Rise, and the reason for that is just because Dye has a lot of Mons that learn ground coverage, whether it's Earth Power on Kyurem, Stomping Tantrum on Entei, or Earthquake on Mega Metagross. So I want to be able to avoid damage from those types of attacks, and I don't think he's going to run, like, dark coverage or anything else that Aegislash is particularly weak to on a lot of his Pokemon. So Magnet Rise will help me to avoid damage, potentially get a little more leftovers recovery, and keep Aegislash healthy. Ditto is another Mon that's designed to take advantage of the fact that he has a lot of Mons that can run ground coverage, and thus he's very lucky to bring it. I'm not actually holding Scarf here, I'm holding Sugarberry. My plan for this set is that I can come in on Mega Metagross, take an Earthquake, Revenge Kill it, and then I don't think Dye has very good answers for his own Mega Metagross, especially considering that Ditto doesn't have to lock itself into a single move when it comes in. Moving on to my physically defensive Seismitoad, it's a good check for Mons like his Kyurem, his Mega Metagross, and his Entei, and his Rockruffs too, just because he has Water Absorb as the ability. Rindo Berry is just in case he brings Grass Knot on Metagross or Giga Drain on a Rockruffs, so I can take at least one of them and threaten them out. And then Facade is just in case I get burned by the Entei, I at least have a move that can deal some kind of damage to it. Moving on, though, to the first appearance of Kyurem all season, I'm running a Choice Spec set just because even if Dye runs Assault Vest on certain Mons of his, he doesn't really have great switch-ins for Kyurem. This Mon is designed to come in on either Zapdos or Nidoqueen and just lock itself into Ice Beam. If he has Sylveon or a Rockruffs, then so be it. I can just click another move. In this case, Flash Cannon on Sylve or Draco Meteor on Rockruffs. But Kyurem is designed to punch holes in Mons so that the rest of my team can Revenge Kill them. And then there's my 6th Mon, which changed 4 or 5 times during my prep. I eventually decided on a Sash Lead Infernape, just to be able to reduce one of Dye's Mons down to 1 HP using Endeavor, after he knocked me into my Focus Sash, considering Infernape is so frail. It could also get up Stealth Rocks very early in the game, so I didn't have to force Seismitoad to do that, and so in that case, Infernape took a lot of pressure off the rest of my team. And my team really doesn't need any more pressure on it. It already has enough as it is. But let's get into the game in itself. The most surprising thing about Dye's 6 Mons is that Weezing is here, which I didn't expect whatsoever. And he chose not to bring the Sylveon or the Araquanid, who I felt were at least bigger threats than Weezing was, but I guess he kind of expected me to bring Mons more like Landorus or something. But Weezing is another bulky Pokemon that I'm going to have to weaken before I can attempt to sweep with Ditto copied as Metagross, so hopefully he'll bring that thing in early and often so I can get some damage on it. Otherwise, I expected every other Mon that he brought, so at least I got that prediction kind of right, and I'm certainly happy to not have to deal with a Rockruffs. Anyway, let's start the replay of the battle. I'm going to lead off with my Infernape. Dye leads off with his Conqueror, so we got 2 fighting types on the field right now, and I have no idea what this Conqueror wants to do, but I'm feeling like he might be able to OHKO me normally with a Drain Punch or something if he has a decent amount of attack investment. So what I'm actually going to do is set up my Rocks turn 1 to allow him to get me into Sash range. I know he's got Mach Punch on the Conqueror, it seems like a very obvious bring for my kind of team, but I could always preserve Infernape to get off an Endeavor later on in the game if that happens. So I go for Rocks, he clicks Drain Punch, and I actually don't go down to my Sash, live at about 31 HP, but still, I know the threat of Mach Punch is very apparent, so what I'm actually going to do is preemptively go into my Mega Medicham. even if he makes the prediction and doesn't go for the Mach Punch here, Medicham can still take pretty much any hit this Conqueror can go for because of its defensive typing. I'm just going to click Zen Headbutt here because it feels like the obvious way to do, and I don't think I can kill the Conqueror with any of my other attacks. But Dye's going to anticipate that, go right into his Mega Metagross, and he doesn't take all that much damage from the Zen Headbutt just because it's a Metagross. It has a good natural physical bulk. Even though I'm Mega Evolved, even though I have one of the strongest mons in the game in Mega Medicham, he has a mon that has even more power than that, and that's his Mega Metagross. To which my switch-ins for my general squad are quite limited, so I have to go into my Seismitoad here. I'm thankful I have Rindo Berry just in case he has Grass Knot, and he actually just clicks the Meteor Mash here, after we see the Mega Evolution animation, obviously. But I know my Seismitoad is well equipped to take a Meteor Mash from Mega Metagross, because not only does it resist the attack, it's also max HP and max defense, so it's actually only going to lose a quarter of its health, exactly as I expected when I prepped my Toad. So now what I can do is just throw off an Earthquake. I don't think it wants to switch into Zapdos or Weezing, because if I'm running a mostly special attacking set with Ice Beam, it can hurt either of them pretty badly. So I'm just going to go for EQ, and he's going to pivot into the Kyurem Black, which is also a pretty good choice, because much like Mega Metagross, it has really good base stats. At the very least, they're a lot better than Seismitoads, but he's going to take the damage from the Stealth Rocks and entry, as well as the damage from my EQ, and the result brings him down to about half of his max HP. But at this point, once again, don't really have very many switch-ins for Kyurem Black, only mons that can revenge it, so what I'm going to elect to do is stay with my Seismitoad, because I don't know what mons on this team necessarily have the grass coverage, and there's nothing else I really want to take damage apart from, well, there's really nothing I want to take damage, so staying with Toad is probably my best play. At least I thought it was my best play. However, Dye is going to reveal that his Kyurem Black does in fact have the Z move, and it is a Tectonic Rage based off of Earth Power. I'm certainly happy that I didn't switch out of any of my mons, because they're all a lot more important than Toad is. So I'm more than happy with getting rid of Toad, just because it does seem a little bit passive in this game. Like, not Alamable levels of passive, but still, it's not the strongest mon on my team. But actually, Toad is going to live on 3 HP, which sounds good in theory, but in the end, it's going to give Dye's Kyurem a lot more agency to go. Eventually, it's going to go for Roost. And I can't deal enough damage to it to threaten it out. Kyurem is just too naturally fat, and unless you're taking it on with a stab super effective move, you're really not going to get a lot of damage off on it, simply because it's just so bulky. So, unfortunately, I do have to make a switch up here, and I don't want to risk my Mega Medicham taking an Ice Beam or a Draco Meteor or anything like that, so what I'm actually going to do is attempt to sacrifice Fernape. Even if he goes for Roost the second time against my Nape, I can just click Endeavor and bring him down to a low amount of HP, and that's exactly what happens here. He gets back up to practically full, but the Endeavor is going to bring him right back down to 31 as he revenges me. I'm a bit disappointed though, because Kyurem is not the best mon to necessarily use Endeavor on. I'd rather have used it on something more bulky like his Nidoqueen or Zapdos, but I didn't really think I had much of a choice, because I needed to keep Mega Medicham alive. It was very important for certain mons on this team. One of which was, of course, the Kyurem itself. So I'm going to come into Mega Medicham and just click the Drain Punch to get a little extra HP back from the dead Kyurem. He eventually revealed to me after the game that his Zapdos didn't have Defog, and so he had no way to get rid of rocks, so his Kyurem was basically dead on arrival at this point. And it's nice that I was able to finish off the Kyurem, but now that Medicham is in, Dye is free to bring in his Mega Metagross and basically just get a kill on something. So what I'm going to do is sack off my Seismitoad at 3 HP, and with no speed investment, it's not going to be doing anything for the rest of the match, so I'm more than happy with using it as death fodder in this case. While I do lose a valuable defensive member on my team, sacking off Toad gives me a free swap into my Ditto, so I can copy everything about this Mega Metagross. I can see that its moveset is Meteor Mash, Bullet Punch, Earthquake, Ice Punch, so this is fantastic. The only move that he has to super effectively hit a Ditto copied into a Metagross is Earthquake, and I have the Sugar Berry, as I mentioned before. Now, I think that everyone in the Draft League community assumes that when you bring in Ditto, it's always Choice Scarves, and I think Dye knows this too. So, in my mind, what he's going to do is assume I'm going to click Earthquake and switch out into something that can take it. So what I'm going to do, try to turn that around on him and go for Ice Punch. I'm predicting the Zapdos to come in on the rather obvious ground-type move here, because he has to preserve his Mega Metagross. It's his best spawn, and the one thing that's holding Mega Medicham in check in this game. Also, clicking Ice Punch preserves the illusion that I'm Scarfed, because I made the hard prediction that Zapdos would come in, and if I got locked into Earthquake, that would lose me a ton of momentum. That also applies to a Weezing switch-in, by the way. But this Mega Metagross is too important for him to be taking so much damage from an Earthquake, so what do? I click Ice Punch, and he stays in. I'm like, why? Why would you stay in with your Mega Metagross here? It's a valuable defensive piece for your team. You don't want to take a potential Earthquake. Like, what? I still don't understand staying in, personally, because that puts his Mega Metagross in range of an Aegislash Shadow Sneak or 2 Mega Medicham Fake Out. So, Dye, if you could wax a little poetic as to why you decided to stay with Metagross, I think it would really help me out here, because I'm still very, very confused, and I'm hurting myself in confusion just thinking about it. But let's move on. Now the secret's out that my Ditto isn't Choice Scarf, so I'm going to now click the Earthquake button to get some damage off if he's still willing to let his Metagross get down to red health. But now he's going to make the play into the Zapdos, and this is not going well. Every single bad play I make is a snowball effect, which leads to me switching out of my Ditto. I don't want to take a potential Heat Wave or Thunderbolt from Zapdos, so I'm just going to pivot into my Kyurem, who eats up almost any of the attacks that Zapdos can go for, including a potential Heat Wave. Now, from this damage, I can assume this Zapdos doesn't have a lot of special attack investment on it, which leads me to believe it's a more defensive spread. Because of that, I'm happy to click the Ice Beam here, because not a lot on this team really wants to take a Specs Ice Beam, and he actually brings in the Conkeldurr. Now, this Conkeldurr is Assault Vest, but you wouldn't know it from the damage it takes here. That is a ton. But now we're going to get into another one of those 50-50 situations. If I click Ice Beam here with my Kyurem, I kill the Conkeldurr automatically. So I have to decide whether or not he's going to attempt to get some lasting damage onto him with a Mach Punch, or whether he's going to predict my switch out and go for either Drain Punch or Knockoff. This is where I think I made my biggest mistake in the game. I should have kept Kyurem more healthy than I did. You notice the last 4 mons on his team after I killed the Conkeldurr would be his Metagross, Zapdos, Nidoqueen, and Weezing. And Kyurem has a really good matchup versus the last 3 of them. Even though it can't be Mega Metagross, it keeps the other mons in containment. So I really should have swapped hard into Aegislash here, because even if Dye anticipated that and clicked Knockoff and chip it down, he can't use Drain Punch on Aegislash to restore his health back above the range of another Ice Beam, and it certainly prevents him from Mach Punching one of my mons too. That's my fault there. Instead, I forced Kyurem to face tank the Mach Punch, and now it's lost most of its ability to check Zapdos, Weezing, and Nidoqueen defensively. And considering the way the game unfolds, it would have been really nice to have a mostly healthy Kyurem here. Instead, what we're going to have is a dead Kyurem, because I really don't have anything I want to take a Meteor Mash or an Earthquake from the Mega Metagross, so Kyurem is the unfortunate sack. I really wish I could have done more with it, but I didn't have much of a choice at this point. And things are only going to get worse from here, because now the Mega Metagross gets an attack boost from the Meteor Mash, which means that Ditto doesn't live an Earthquake from it, and if I lose with Speed Tie, then I lose pretty much all my hope of winning the game. So I have to play a bit more conservatively. I go into my Aegislash, and I'm just going to click Iron Head here so I can stay in shield form for at least one Earthquake. And I think Iron Head plus Shadow Sneak killed, at least for my calcs, so that's what I'm going to do. Instead, he goes hard into Zapdos, and the Iron Head basically bounces off the dose. So this is going to put me in a bit of an awkward position. I realize that I probably have to switch out into Mega Medicham in order to preserve my momentum, because otherwise he's just going to roost up on Aegi, and because I don't have Toxic on this set, I can't touch the Zapdos at all. But I am correct in my assumption that the Zapdos has Roost, and that he's going to go for it here. So I can bring in my Medicham, and it's not going to take any additional damage more than it needs to. What I can do now is just go for the Fake Out, and I put him in range of Ice Punch. So even though I don't actually have the attack, I'm sure Dye knows that Medi is likely to carry the attack, at least most of the time. So I think he's going to switch out here. Either way, I'm just going to click Zen Headbutt, because it's the move that hits Zapdos the hardest, and I get really fortunate here, because Dye's going to go into the Weezing. Medicham is the one mon I have on my team that can kill this Weezing. Because every mon I have, barring Ditto transformed into a special attacker, is physical. And so he just has free reign to click Will-O-Wisp all the time, burn my entire team, and then, well, then I don't have any offensive pressure left beside Ditto and I lose. Speaking of offensive pressure though, Mega Metagross has a lot of that. I can't stay with Medi, I have to switch out, and Aegislash is certainly a willing target of a Meteor Mash. Metagross does miss though, so it's gonna have to wait a bit for that to happen. Anyway, I have to explain my next play too. His Zapdos and Nidoqueen are both pretty good checks to my Aegislash, so anticipating Dye to bring one of them in and preserve his Metagross's HP, I'm going to double into my Mega Medicham so I can eventually get off a Fake Out or Zen Headbutt on one of those mons. But instead he stays in. I guess he was okay with it taking a Shadow Sneak, and because of that I'm going to lose a ton of health on my Medicham. So in effect, it dies in one hit now. And considering that Mega Metagross both outspeeds Mega Medicham naturally and has Bullet Punch on its moveset, it's not safe for Medi to stay in here. It's my best way to hurt Zapdos and Nidoqueen now that I've sacked Kyurem, so it's the most important mon left on my team. I have to preserve it, so after I go for the Fake Out, I'm going to switch back into Aegislash. I know Earthquake is coming, but Aegi is bulky enough where it can tank one, as Aegi does have a good matchup against most of the S tiers in this format. but at least through the plays he's gone for in the last few turns, he's communicated to me that he's okay with letting his Mega Metagross die and trying to win with Zapdos plus Nidoqueen. So I'm just going to click an attacking move here and wait, now he switches out? I don't understand what's going on. What are you doing? Why is Mega Metagross suddenly this big important mon you need to keep healthy? Was the fake out damage really that crucial? I'm sorry guys, I'm getting salty. I'm just trying to reconcile this in my mind, and I can't. I hope Dye did this as some grand experiment to weaken my Mega Medicham, because that's the only way I might be able to accept it. Because what he's going to be able to do now is just roost back up to almost max HP, and I'm stupid and go for Shadow Sneak in spite of the fact that I have a pretty good idea it's not going to kill the Zapdos from that range of health, barring a crit and a decent-sized roll. So, at this point, I've pretty much acknowledged that I've lost this game. I have nothing left on my team that can break a Zapdos once it reaches max HP. It's disappointing, but I couldn't allow a Zapdos to get back at full HP under any circumstances, and I just did by going for Shadow Sneak, so I'm really dejected about that. I'm just going to go into my Mega Medicham because it's the hardest hitting mon on my team, and I can attempt to bring the Zapdos down to half HP, but at this point, I've acknowledged the game's already over. Unless I get a Zen Headbutt flinch on the Zapdos. And suddenly the Hax Gods have blessed me with another chance. Now that's very, very unfortunate for Dye, because he basically won with Zapdos right here, because nothing I have left can kill it. The best I can hope for is that I bring in Ditto and can stall it out to timer. That's still an auto loss and would only save me a bit of differential. That's something I can discuss more in detail after the battle concludes. So let's continue from here. Dye's going to bring in the Mega Metagross because once again, it's the only way he has to revenge my Mega Medicham. And like I've done a few times before in this battle, I'm going to go straight into my Aegislash. It actually manages to tank the EQ, and even though I can't take another one, I can go for Shadow Sneak to, if not kill the Mega Metagross, then put it in range of a Fake Out. But since I went for Shadow Sneak a few turns ago on the Zapdos, Dye knows that I have that move on my set. And so he can just switch out of Metagross, go into his Nidoqueen, and take almost no damage from it after the Black Sludge recovery. The good news is that now I know that the Nidoqueen is a bulky variant. However, in this game, I can't really do much with that information, as I need Medicham in order to kill off the Nidoqueen, and I can't bring it in safely without sacking one of my other mons first. So I'm just going to stay on my Aegislash and just try to repeatedly hammer him with Iron Edge and Shadow Sneaks. And I actually get really mad about this because on one of these turns coming up, he's actually going to set up Stealth Rocks, which if I had gone for Magnet Rise on that particular turn, he wouldn't have been able to kill off my Aegislash, and I would have just been able to repeatedly hit him with Iron Head, Shadow Sneak, just gone for King Shield in order to protect Aegislash and take less damage, and it was disappointing. But considering that I got a Zen Headbutt flinch on his Zapdos, I'm not really in a great position to complain about that. Instead, we'll fast forward a few turns when Nidoqueen finally manages to take out my Aegislash with an Earth Power. We each have 2 mons remaining now, and I'm forced to go into my Mega Medicham in order to revenge the Queen. It's already caused me enough pain as it is, so now it's my time to give it a little dose of suffering. So I go for Zen Headbutt, and the Hax Gods get their revenge on me because I miss. And with that, my last chance to win my Week 4 game completely evaporates. I can't really get angry at the miss, though, because had I not flinched the Zapdos earlier in the game, I wouldn't have even been in a position to win anyways. As it stands, I'm forced to switch into my Ditto, which means I have to copy the Nidoqueen rather than the Mega Metagross, which would have been really, really helpful for the endgame. Instead, I'm forced to just click Earth Power into the Nidoqueen slot, and unfortunately, it's at too high of a health to die to a single Earth Power, whereas I've taken too much damage with my Ditto already to survive one of his. And that is going to be the game. I do lose to the New Britain Rockruffs 2-0 in a very wild and interesting display of Pokemon. I was incredibly frustrated throughout the second half of this battle, because I couldn't get a good read on what Dye's priorities were, that is, how much he valued mons like his Mega Metagross, Zapdos, and Nidoqueen. The fact that he was able to play erratically, yet still somewhat in control, threw me off my own game. Had I managed to accurately predict what mons he needed to keep, I probably would have been able to squeak out a win. But this game is going to go down in the dock as a loss, and I can only really blame myself for that. I went in for the Ditto sweep a bit too early, to the point where his Metagross got a hit on the Ditto no matter what, and I sacked Kyurem way too early as well, which forced me into having to make a bunch of 50-50 predictions around his Zapdos and Nidoqueen, most of which I made the wrong call. With that in mind, I do want to wish a GG to Dye. He's definitely skilled at Draft League, and you should go check out his channel when you have the time. His link will be in the description, as well as the channel links to all the other PCL coaches. Please make sure to leave a like and a comment on the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to my channel to catch more of my PCL battles. Thank you all so much for watching, and until I see you next time, take care.